In every corner of Savannah, there are places that don't just look beautiful, they feel mystical, almost like stepping into a fairy tale. Spanish moss draping over ancient oak trees, cobblestone streets lined with colorful historic homes, hidden squares that whisper stories from centuries past, and riverfronts that shimmer under golden sunsets, all creating a cityscape that feels like it was painted by dreams. Not just found anywhere, but alive here, in Savannah. And today, we've come to reveal some of Savannah's most magical secrets. A city where history meets charm, where pastel-colored houses hide timeless stories, where streets and squares shine like jewels, and where every step feels like walking through a storybook. Welcome to Dynamic Expeditions. Welcome to a brand new travel adventure. Welcome to episode 80. I'm Aditya, and today, I bring you one of the most enchanting journeys in the USA, Top 10 Magical Places in Savannah, Georgia Sparkles. In our previous episode 79, we explored Top 10 Must-Try Adventures in an XPLOR Park Mexican Vertical Bar from Cave Rivers to Sky Zip Lines. If you missed it, the link is in the description, make sure to check it out. And if you are new here, don't forget to like, subscribe, and enable notifications bell so you never miss these cinematic journeys across the world. Today, we travel deep into the heart of Savannah to witness places that feel like nature and history wove a magical tapestry together. Historic squares, majestic oak-lined avenues, secret gardens hidden behind wrought iron gates, and streets that look like they've been lifted from a storybook. If you love traveling, exploring unseen wonders, and experiencing the magic that urban history can hold, then you're in the right place, because only on Dynamic Expeditions will you find journeys like these. For the best experience, watch in full screen. Let the mossy oaks, the pastel streets, and the timeless charm of Savannah take over your world. Now let's begin today's magical journey. Episode 80, Top 10 Magical Places in Savannah, Georgia Sparkles. Today's 10th Savannah, Georgia, USA magical place is Boomslow Historic Site Sparkles. Imagine walking through a gateway where time itself seems to slow down, where nature forms a living cathedral, and every step feels like entering a dream. Welcome to one of the most enchanting entrances in America, a road so magical that it feels straight out of a fantasy film. Just outside historic Savannah lies a breathtaking avenue of ancient live oak trees. Their massive branches stretching overhead, their forms twisted by centuries of wind and weather, all draped in soft, silver Spanish moss. Together, they create a natural tunnel of green that looks less like a road and more like a portal into another world. As you move forward, the sunlight filters through the leaves in broken golden rays, the moss sways gently with the breeze, and the entire path glows with a soft, cinematic aura. In the early morning, mist often floats low across the ground, turning the scene surreal, almost like nature itself is performing a quiet ritual. The iconic Oak Avenue is only the beginning. Inside the historic site, you'll find cobbled paths, open grassy fields, white forest trails, and the remains of colonial-era structures. There are tabby ruins, an old building material made from lime, sand, and shells that give the landscape a weathered, storybook look. Interpretive trails lead you through marshland and woodland ecosystems, where birds call overhead and everything feels calm and untouched. This is not a loud tourist attraction, it's a slow, atmospheric experience. Every turn feels photogenic. Every frame feels cinematic. Fun fact: the oak-lined entrance road here is considered one of the most photographed natural avenues in the United States. It's frequently used in films, travel documentaries, wedding shoots, and fine art photography because of its perfectly symmetrical, otherworldly appearance. History. Wormslow dates all the way back to 1733 and was established by colonist and soldier Noble Jones, one of the original settlers of Georgia. He built an estate and defensive outpost here during the early colonial period. Over time, the property evolved into a plantation site, and today it stands preserved as a protected historic area that tells the story of early colonial life in the region. Walking here is not just visually magical, it's historically deep. You are literally walking through nearly 3 centuries of layered stories. Travel tips. Come early, ideally right after opening hours. Morning gives you the best chance of catching ground mist and soft angled sunlight, which makes the Oak Tunnel look absolutely unreal in photos and video. Weekends can get busy, so weekday mornings are best for peaceful shots. Bring a wide-angle lens if you are filming. The tree canopy looks far more dramatic when fully captured. Take time to walk beyond the famous avenue too. Most visitors shoot the entrance and leave, but the interior trails and ruins are where the quiet magic really lies. Best time to visit. Spring and fall are ideal. Temperatures are comfortable, greenery is rich, and the light quality is excellent for cinematic travel footage. Fall adds warm tones to the moss and leaves, while spring brings vibrant freshness and color contrast. If places could cast spells, Wormslow would be one of them. A living tunnel of time, silence, and southern magic. And this is only number 10 on our journey through Savannah's most magical places. Sparkles. Today's 9th Savannah, Georgia, USA magical place is Forsyth Park Sparkles. Imagine stepping into a green sanctuary where city noise fades away, where towering oak trees form shaded corridors, and a grand white fountain glows at the center like a royal centerpiece. Welcome to one of the most enchanting urban parks in the American South, a place where every stroll feels cinematic and timeless. In the heart of Savannah lies a breathtaking 30-acre landscape of wide walking paths, historic charm, and layered natural beauty. As you enter, you are surrounded by massive live oak trees draped in flowing Spanish moss, their branches stretching outward like nature's architecture. The symmetry of the paths and the softness of the greenery create a calm, dreamlike atmosphere. At the northern end stands the park's most iconic sight. A grand cast-iron fountain that rises elegantly above the lawns. Water arcs outward in shimmering patterns, catching sunlight and creating a jewel-like sparkle. Around it, you'll often see travelers filming, artists sketching, musicians playing, and couples capturing photos. The entire scene feels alive yet peaceful. As you walk deeper, you'll discover open grassy fields, flower gardens, shaded benches, and quiet corners perfect for reflection. Street performers sometimes add soft background music, while weekend markets and local gatherings bring color and energy. The balance of stillness and culture makes every frame feel storybook ready. Fun fact: the park's famous fountain design was inspired by European, especially French, fountain styles, which is why it looks so regal and symmetrical. It has become one of the most photographed landmarks in the city and frequently appears in films, travel features, and wedding shoots. History. Established in 1840, Forsyth Park grew over time into the central public gathering space of Savannah. It has hosted historic events, community celebrations, and everyday life for generations. The fountain, added in the late 1800s, transformed the park into a visual icon and helped shape the city's recognizable identity. Walking here isn't just relaxing, it connects you with nearly 2 centuries of local history and culture. Travel tips. Visit in the early morning for soft light, fewer crowds, and smooth cinematic shots around the fountain. Bring a picnic blanket. The open lawns are perfect for relaxing breaks between sightseeing. If you are filming, capture both wide walkway shots and low-angle fountain views for the best visual contrast. Weekends often feature local performances and small art setups, which add great background atmosphere. Don't just stay near the fountain, explore the side paths too. Many visitors miss the quieter sections where the park feels even more magical and personal. Best time to visit. Spring is ideal. Flowers bloom in full color, the trees look vibrant, and the weather is comfortable for long walks and filming. Late afternoon in spring gives especially beautiful golden light through the moss-covered branches. If peaceful places could feel like living paintings, Forsyth Park would be one of them, a green heart of elegance, history, and slow southern charm. And this is only number 9 on our journey through Savannah's most magical places. Sparkles. Today's 8th Savannah, Georgia, USA magical place is Bonaventure Cemetery Sparkles. Imagine walking into a place where silence speaks, where art, memory, and nature blend into something hauntingly beautiful, where every statue seems to guard a forgotten story, and every pathway feels like a page from a Gothic fairy tale. Welcome to one of the most atmospheric and visually poetic places in the American South. Set along a scenic bluff overlooking the Wilmington River, this legendary cemetery doesn't feel dark, it feels dreamlike. Towering live oak trees stretch across the sky, their branches veiled with flowing Spanish moss that sways like slow-moving smoke. Marble statues stand watch beside weathered headstones, angel figures, carved crosses, and delicate sculptures aged by time and rain, each one carrying emotion frozen in stone. As you walk the winding paths, sunlight filters through layered branches in soft fragments, birds call from high above, and the breeze moves through the moss like a whisper. The experience feels cinematic, peaceful yet mysterious, a place where beauty and melancholy exist together in perfect balance. This is not just a burial ground, it is an open-air museum of sculpture, symbolism, and southern history. Every corner is visually striking. Every frame looks like it belongs in a period film. Description. Long curving pathways, ornate statues, elaborate Victorian-era grave markers, and moss-draped trees create a surreal and meditative atmosphere. The blend of fine art and wild nature gives the entire landscape a mystical, storybook tone that photographers and filmmakers love. Fun fact. The cemetery gained worldwide attention because of the iconic bird girl statue that appeared on the cover of the best-selling book Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, which helped turn this location into a cultural legend and boosted its popularity among travelers and artists. History. Established in 1846, the cemetery grew from a former plantation site into one of the most artistically significant cemeteries in the United States. It reflects multiple eras of Savannah's past, from early settlers to prominent families, and is recognized as a nationally important historic landscape. Many graves here belong to notable local figures, poets, military leaders, and cultural personalities, making it both historically rich and visually unforgettable. Travel tips. Go slowly, this is not a rush-through location. Walk the inner paths, not just the main roads. A guided tour is highly recommended because many of the most fascinating stories are hidden behind names and symbols you might otherwise miss. Early morning visits give you softer light and fewer crowds. Bring a zoom lens, statue details and textures look incredible on camera. Best time to visit. Autumn is especially magical. Cooler air, warm-toned leaves, and softer sunlight enhance the Gothic atmosphere. Spring is also excellent for greenery and contrast, but fall delivers the strongest cinematic mood. If places could feel like poetry carved into stone, this would be one of them, silent, graceful, and eternally atmospheric. And our magical Savannah journey is only getting deeper from here. Sparkles. Today's 7th Savannah, Georgia, USA magical place is Cathedral of St. John the Baptist Sparkles. Imagine stepping through doors where light turns into color, where silence rises upward with the ceilings, and where every detail, every arch, every window, every carved line feels crafted not just with skill, but with devotion. This is not just a church visit, it feels like entering a living work of art. From the outside, twin spires rise toward the sky with dramatic Gothic elegance. Detailed, symmetrical, and commanding. The structure feels almost European in spirit, like something transported from an old-world fairy tale and placed gently in the American South. But the true magic begins the moment you step inside. Sunlight pours through towering stained glass windows, transforming the interior into a shifting canvas of color, blues, reds, golds, and violets washing across the walls and floors. The vaulted ceilings soar high above, drawing your eyes upward. Intricate murals, gold accents, sculpted columns, and finely detailed altars create a layered visual experience that feels cinematic from every angle. When the light is just right, the entire interior seems to glow, as if the building itself is breathing color and calm. This is a place where architecture becomes emotion, grand, peaceful, and awe-inspiring all at once. Description: magnificent Gothic Revival architecture, dramatic pointed arches, handcrafted stained glass, painted ceilings, detailed woodwork, and richly decorated altars. The symmetry and vertical scale create a powerful sense of height and reverence, while the color-filled windows add warmth and wonder. Fun fact: it's often called the architectural crown jewel of the city because of its interior artistry and stained glass collection. Considered among the most beautiful church interiors in the region. Visitors are often surprised that such elaborate European-style design exists here. History: originally constructed in the late 1800s, the cathedral faced a devastating fire not long after completion. Instead of being abandoned, it was rebuilt and restored with even greater artistic detail and structural strength. Over the decades, it survived major storms and hurricanes, with multiple restoration efforts preserving its artwork, glass, and painted surfaces. What you see today is the result of deep historical care and craftsmanship across generations. Travel tips: check visiting hours before you go, access may pause during services. If possible, attend a mass, choir performance, or special lighting ceremony. The music and illuminated stained glass together create an unforgettable atmosphere. Dress respectfully, keep voices low, and take time to sit quietly. This is a place best experienced slowly. Wide-angle lenses work beautifully for interior shots. Best time to visit: morning is ideal, when low-angle sunlight streams directly through the stained glass windows and fills the interior with layered color beams, perfect for cinematic footage and photography. If buildings could feel like prayers carved into light and stone, this would be one of them. Radiant, grand, and timelessly magical. And our countdown journey continues. Sparkles. Today's 6th Savannah, Georgia, USA magical place is River Street Sparkles. Imagine a place where history walks beside the water, where every step echoes with centuries of trade, travel, and stories, and where sunset turns brick, river, and sky into pure liquid gold. Welcome to one of the most atmospheric waterfront streets in America, where old world charm and lively energy blend into a magical riverside experience. Set along the edge of the wide flowing river, this historic stretch feels like a living movie set. Under your feet, original cobblestones, uneven and time-worn. On both sides, massive brick warehouse from centuries past, now transformed into glowing shops, cafes, galleries, and music-filled corners. And beside you, the slow, shimmering river carrying ships, reflections, and drifting light. As you walk, you hear it all. Distant ship horns, soft street music, laughter from open patios, the rhythm of footsteps on stone. The air smells of coffee, river breeze, and warm food. It feels alive but never rushed, like a celebration that has been continuing for hundreds of years. When evening approaches, the entire street transforms. Lights turn on across balconies and windows, the river mirrors the sky, and everything begins to glow with a warm cinematic tone. It's not just a walk, it's an atmosphere. Description: historic cobblestone pathways, restored brick warehouse, riverfront railings, open-air cafes, artisan shops, candy stores, galleries, and dock views create a layered visual experience. Riverboats and cargo ships passing by at motion and scale, making every frame feel dynamic and alive. Fun fact: this waterfront district is home to the historic Cotton Exchange Building, once one of the most important cotton trading centers in the world, where prices and shipments influenced global markets. History: dating back to the 18th century, this area was the beating heart of Savannah's port economy. Ships arrived loaded with goods, cotton, timber, and supplies. The warehouse stored cargo, and merchants ran businesses directly from these riverfront structures. Over time, as shipping methods changed, the district declined. But later restoration efforts preserved the architecture and transformed the area into a cultural and tourism landmark while keeping its historic soul intact. Travel tips: wear comfortable shoes. Cobblestones look great but can be uneven. Walk the full stretch instead of staying near one entrance, the character changes block by block. Try a rooftop or balcony cafe for elevated river views. If you are filming, capture both ground-level walking shots and elevated sunset angels. The contrast adds cinematic depth. Stay a little after sunset, reflections on the water and warm window lights create your best footage moments. Best time to visit: late afternoon to evening is perfect. Golden hour adds warm glow to the brick buildings and river surface, and twilight brings reflections, lights, and street energy, ideal for magical travel visuals. If streets could tell stories through stone and water, this one would speak in golden echoes. Historic, vibrant, and endlessly atmospheric. And our magical countdown continues. Sparkles. Today's 5th Savannah, Georgia, USA magical place is Owens Thomas House and Slave Quarters Sparkles. Imagine stepping through a doorway where elegance and truth stand side by side, where graceful architecture, hidden courtyards, and wide corridors transport you into another century, not just to admire beauty, but to understand the full story behind it. This is one of Savannah's most visually refined and historically powerful historic homes. From the outside, the mansion appears poised and balanced, tall windows, delicate balconies and decorative ironwork that reflects early 19th century design. But once inside, the experience becomes layered and immersive. Sunlight spills through shuttered windows onto polished floors, curved staircases rise with sculpted precision, and every room feels carefully composed, like a preserved moment in time. Behind the elegance lies something even more compelling. Preserved quarters and working spaces that reveal the lives of the enslaved people who supported the household. The contrast creates a deeper, more meaningful visit, one that is not just beautiful but unforgettable. Step further out back, and you will find enclosed garden spaces, green, geometric, and peaceful, hidden from the busy streets. These quiet garden rooms feel like secret pockets of calm, where leaves filter the light and the city fades away. Description: refined historic mansion interiors, symmetrical room layouts, decorative plasterwork, iron balconies, shaded courtyard gardens, brick walkways, and preserved service areas create a blend of elegance and realism. The garden sections feel intimate and cinematic, perfect for slow, reflective exploration. Fun fact: this house was among the earliest private residences in the United States to feature advanced indoor plumbing and an early water system. A rare luxury innovation at the time of its construction. History: built in 1819, the home represents Savannah's antebellum era and showcases both architectural sophistication and social reality. Today, the preserved slave quarters and interpretive exhibits provide important historical context, offering visitors a fuller and more honest understanding of how the household functioned. Restoration efforts have carefully maintained both the beauty and the truth of the site, making it one of the most educational historic properties in the region. Travel tips: take the guided tour, it adds depth you won't get from walking alone. Don't skip the rear garden and service areas. Many visitors rush the main rooms and miss the most atmospheric sections. Interior photography may be limited, so check rules in advance. Move slowly, details are everywhere. Best time to visit: spring and early summer are ideal, when the courtyard and garden spaces are green and vibrant. Morning visits offer softer interior light and a quieter experience for filming and observation. If places could hold both elegance and honesty in the same breath, this would be one of them: graceful on the surface, powerful in its story, and quietly magical in its atmosphere. Sparkles. Today's fourth Savannah, Georgia, USA magical place is Savannah Historic District Sparkles. Imagine a neighborhood where time didn't disappear, it simply slowed down, where every street corner feels staged for a period film, and where walking a single block feels like traveling across centuries. This is not just a district, it's a living storybook of architecture, atmosphere, and southern charm. The moment you enter, the rhythm changes. Traffic softens. Footsteps echo gently on old pathways. Tree canopies arch overhead like natural ceilings, their branches draped in flowing Spanish moss. Sunlight breaks through in scattered beams, touching pastel-colored townhouses, wrought-iron balconies, and glowing lantern posts. It feels less like a city grid and more like a collection of carefully composed scenes. Instead of crowded intersections, you discover open squares, green, symmetrical, peaceful, each one framed by historic buildings and shaded by ancient trees. Benches sit quietly under filtered light. Fountains murmur softly. Hidden courtyards appear behind archways and gates, revealing gardens and brick paths that many visitors walk past without ever noticing. It's a place designed for wandering, not rushing. Every turn gives you texture, ironwork patterns, shuttered windows, stone steps worn smooth by generations, and doorways painted in soft historic hues. Morning light gives it a golden glow. Evening lanterns give it a warm, cinematic soul. Description: cobblestone and brick streets, pastel and cream historic townhouses, decorative wrought iron balconies, shaded public squares, garden courtyards, fountains, statues, and lantern-lit walkways create a layered visual environment that feels timeless and immersive. Fun fact: the district is built around 22 separate park-like squares, each with its own layout, monument, and backstory. No two squares feel exactly the same, which makes exploration feel like discovering chapters instead of blocks. History: the district preserves much of the city's 18th and 19th century urban design. Instead of replacing old structures, preservation efforts protected the original street plan, architecture, and square system. Because of this, the area remains one of the best preserved historic city landscapes in the United States. Walking here today means experiencing a city layout that has remained visually recognizable for generations. Travel tips: don't just follow the main tourist path, wander between squares and side lanes where the quieter magic lies. Look for open gates, many lead to hidden courtyards and gardens. A horse-drawn carriage tour gives you elevated sightlines and a slower cinematic pace for filming. Early walks give you clean audio and empty frames for better footage. If you are shooting video, capture transitions from bright squares into shaded streets. The light contrast looks incredible on camera. Best time to visit: early morning is perfect, fewer crowds, soft golden sunlight, and cooler air. The low-angle light through moss-covered trees creates your most magical visuals and smoothest travel shots. If cities could dream in architecture and light, this district would be one of those dreams, preserved, poetic, and endlessly walkable. And the countdown continues. Sparkles. Today's third Savannah, Georgia, USA magical place is Boomslow Historic Site, Oak Avenue at Sunset Sparkles. Imagine a road you've already seen in daylight, suddenly transforming into pure cinematic gold. The same ancient trees, the same moss-draped branches, but now set on fire by the sinking sun. This is not just a different time of day, it's a completely different world. As sunset approaches, the legendary Oak Avenue turns into a glowing tunnel of light and shadow. The long tree branches stretch overhead like cathedral arches, and the hanging Spanish moss catches the sun's final rays, glowing umber, copper, and honey gold. Every step forward feels like walking into a fantasy painting in motion. Shadows grow long across the path, textures sharpen, colors deepen. The sky behind the tree tunnel burns in gradients of orange, pink, and soft violet. Light slips through the leaves in narrow beams, creating moving patterns across the ground. With each passing minute, the atmosphere shifts from warm brilliance to soft twilight magic. It feels less like a road and more like a portal between day and dream. When the breeze moves, the moss sways like slow curtains of silk. Dust and pollen sparkle in the backlight. Silhouettes of travelers become cinematic figures inside a glowing frame of nature. Sunset here doesn't just light the scene, it transforms it. Description: a perfectly symmetrical oak-lined avenue with moss curtains, glowing sunset backlight, long perspective lines, and dramatic shadow patterns. The golden-hour color and contrast make every angle look like a film shot. Fun fact: Photographers often call this location Savannah's portal to a fairy tale because during golden hour, the natural tunnel effect becomes so visually perfect that it barely looks real, requiring almost no color grading in post-production. History. This avenue forms part of the historic plantation landscape first established in 1733, making it one of the oldest preserved colonial-era properties in the region. Generations of natural growth shaped the tree canopy into the iconic tunnel seen today, turning history and nature into a single visual landmark. Travel tips. Arrive at least 45 to 60 minutes before sunset. The light changes fast, and the best shots happen in the transition window. Bring a tripod for low light stability and symmetrical long exposure shots. Shoot both toward the sun for silhouettes and rays, and away from it for glowing moss detail. Stay a little after sunset too. Bluer tones look incredible here. Best time to visit. Late afternoon into sunset, when golden hour light enters the tree tunnel at a low angle and creates the most surreal and cinematic visuals of the entire day. Same place, different light, completely different magic. And the countdown is getting even more powerful from here. Sparkles. Today's second Savannah, Georgia, USA magical place is Juliet Gordon Low Birthplace Sparkles. Step into a home where history feels warm, personal, and quietly inspiring, a place filled with elegant rooms, vintage details, and hidden garden corners that feel like secrets waiting to be discovered. This beautifully preserved house carries the spirit of creativity, leadership, and legacy. Inside, you'll find period furnishings, delicate decor, and authentic artifacts that transport you straight into the early 20th century. Sunlight enters through tall windows, softly lighting wooden floors and historic objects, giving every room a museum-like calm with a lived-in soul. Fun fact. This is the childhood home of Juliet Gordon Low, who founded the Girl Scouts of the USA in 1912, a movement that grew into a global force for girls' leadership and confidence. History. Built in 1821, the house has been carefully restored with original-style furnishings to preserve its authentic character and story. Travel tip. Take the guided tour. It gives access to the private garden spaces and deeper stories behind the rooms. Best time to visit. Spring, when the gardens bloom and the courtyards feel especially magical. Sparkles. Today's first Savannah, Georgia, USA magical place is Bonaventure Cemetery at dawn. Sparkles. At first light, before the city wakes, this place transforms into pure atmosphere, where mist floats low over the ground, statues emerge slowly from fog, and silence feels almost sacred. Dawn here doesn't feel airy, it feels poetic. Soft grey-blue light filters through centuries-old oak trees draped in Spanish moss. Marble angels, historic sculptures, and weathered headstones glow gently as the rising sun paints their edges in gold. Every path looks cinematic. Every frame feels like a painting. Fun fact. The cemetery is famous for its monumental sculptures and massive live oaks, some of the most photographed memorial artworks in the American South. History. Established in 1846, it grew into one of the region's most historically and artistically significant cemeteries, preserving generations of stories in stone and landscape. Travel tip. Arrive before sunrise, the fog window is short, and that's when the true magic appears. Best time to visit. Early autumn mornings, when cool air and mist create the most mystical visuals. Sparkles. So that was the end of episode 80 of Dynamic Expeditions our magical journey through the timeless charm and dreamlike corners of Savannah, Georgia, USA. From moss-draped avenues to historic squares and golden riverfront streets, this city truly feels like a living storybook. If you enjoyed these magical places of Savannah, tell us in the comments which location felt the most unforgettable to you. And the most interesting comment I, Aditya, will personally pin it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and enable notifications bell so you never miss our cinematic travel journeys. Share this episode with your friends and family too. Let them experience the mystery, beauty, and historic magic of Savannah star. Have a hidden gem or secret destination in mind? Drop your suggestion in the comments. The idea with the most likes will be featured in our next episode. Until then, keep exploring, because adventure never sleeps in historic cities like this one. We'll be back soon with new places, new flavors, and new discoveries. Next episode, even more famous and delicious street food adventures await. Till then, stay tuned and keep watching Dynamic Expeditions, every episode at 7:45 p.m. Because journeys may pause, but exploration never ends.